Tonight, the Peugeot 206. Any good or what? Quentin buys a car for £1,000, and me on the people's Bentley.
Solution to meet all the requirements.
At a meeting in central London, it was all confirmed.
We and BMW...
For a trifling £40 million, BMW had bought Rolls-Royce, while for £470 million, Volkswagen had got their hands on Bentley.
I would have preferred to keep both brands.
Yes, but you didn't. You got this, the Arnage, a car that has a BMW engine and a BMW gearbox. It even has BMW switches. Volkswagen got shafted. They paid £470 million for Rolls-Royce, and they've ended up with a BMW. £470 million quid. But let's forget about the politics for a minute, shall we, and concentrate on the car. As you can see, it looks pretty much identical to a Rolls-Royce Silver Seraph, but there are some subtle differences. At the front, it's got a mesh grille. Down the side, you'll note sporty, 5-spoke, 17-inch alloy wheels. In the boot, there are little leather straps here and here to hold your sports equipment or your umbrellas or your guns, should you wish to shoot the poor. And then there's the interior. Now, don't worry about the leather. You don't have to have it this colour. But you do get those cream dials, like on an Escort Cosworth. But then this is a Bentley Cosworth. It may have a BMW V8, but Cosworth have bored it out to 4.4 litres and added a brace of turbochargers. The performance really is incredible. 0 to 60 takes 6 seconds. 40 to 70 takes 3 seconds. And the top speed is limited to 150. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable because what you're looking at here is 18 feet long and weighs 2.7 tons. Meet Robbie Coltrane, the Olympic sprinter. And yet, amazingly, the only sounds you hear are the creak of the leather and the petrol being hosed into the cylinders. The 5-speed gearbox just slurs the changes as the hedgerows go into hyperdrive. But let's not get carried away here. This is not a sports car that you caress. It's heavy engineering that you manhandle. I'm amazed it goes round corners at all. That it does so quite well is remarkable. Now, the old Bentley Turbo handled pretty well too, but on anything other than a croquet lawn, it would shake your teeth out and wobble your liver clean out of its mountings. This one is much better. I think it uses its huge weight to crush bumps in the road, rather than ride over them. This is a magnificent car, but I'm not sure where it fits. You see, if you want the last word in luxury, you're better off with the Rolls-Royce. Hard though it is to believe, the Seraph is even more comfortable and even more opulent than this. They've tried to make the Bentley a driver's car, but come on. If you're looking for the ultimate Grand Tourer, the Arnage is thrashed by the recently modified Ferrari 456. And when I say thrashed, I mean beaten to within an inch of its life. The 5.5-litre V12 Ferrari is 30 miles an hour faster and a full second quicker to 60. It's more nimble too because it's lighter. On the new model, the huge bonnet is made from carbon fibre. As far as comfort is concerned, well, you can even have an automatic gearbox. Sure, there's less space in the back of a Ferrari, but who cares? If you want a GT car, a driver's car, this is what you buy. There is, however, another reason why you might want to buy the Bentley. Because of all the political jiggery-pokery, it hasn't been selling terribly well. And that will make it rare, and that will make it a classic, and that will make it the best long-term investment around. Nearly. In its 4-year life, just 200 Aston Martin Vantages have been sold, making it one of the rarest cars on the planet. It is also one of the fastest. The new Vantage has uprated superchargers and bigger intercoolers, so that it now produces, ready for this, 600 brake horsepower. This may well be the House of Lords on wheels, but it can now crack 200 miles an hour. Guess what? In 2 years' time, new EU emission legislation will make the Vantage an outlaw, and production will cease.
This is the end, beautiful friend. This is the end, my only friend, the end of our elaborate plans, the end.
If you're looking to buy a classic, a car that you can lay down alongside the Claret, this is the one to go for. So, where does that leave the Bentley? Well, the Aston is £200,000. The Ferrari is £180,000, but this is only £145,000. It's good value for money. It's a people's car, or as they say in Germany, a Volkswagen. I don't think it's entirely what Hitler had in mind, but there you go.
Cut, cut, hold everything. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm awfully sorry to interrupt this programme, but we've just had a letter from a viewer. It's a Mr. Norman Voles from Gravesend. Dear Top Gear, that Bentley is not a people's car, not at £140,000 odd. What are you lot on? If I hear another Top Gear presenter say this car is only £100,000, I will set my beard alight. What I want to see is cars for around £1,000. But you lot wouldn't know a cheap car if you fell over it. With your BMWs and your Kevin Klein trousers, you're just a crowd of... Oh, Mr. Voles. Well, I'm sorry you feel this way. This is very serious. This is the BBC. We're a public broadcaster. So all I can say, Mr. Voles, is we accept your challenge. First job was to hit the classified ads. Grab everything. Free papers, local papers, the lot. Because bargain cars pop up in the most unlikely places. Second job is to hit the phone as early and as hard as you can. When you're responding to ads, always say, I've rung about the car rather than the Fiesta. That way, if it's a trader, pretend to be a private seller, you'll catch him out because he'll say which one. And always ask direct questions. Don't just say, is the car in good condition, because you'll always get a yes. Better to say, are there any holes, tears or burns in the upholstery? Any scratches, rust, dents on the body? Does the engine smoke? Is the service history fully stamped up, etc., etc.? That way, you'll get clear, honest answers and few wasted journeys. But look, we've just found our first prospect. It's cheap, it's low mileage, and it's at a dealer. A 1982 Talbot Sunbeam 1.3. Don't laugh, it's not even running.
So what's the story behind this, then?
This was owned by an old lady who lived only round the corner from the garage. She's had it from new. It's done a genuine 19,000 miles.
Oh-ho. I'm here to tell you, this little gem feels as tight as a trampoline. Lovely, sweet little engine, crisp little box. Now, the thing about this is, it may not be the most stylish car in the world. It may have as much cred as a misfiring moped. But what you are buying is a 20,000-mile motor car. You could run this car for 2-3 years without any major bills, and all for less than 600 quid. How cheap do you want them?
And even more glamour, an F-Reg Volvo 340 in varicose vein blue.
I've owned the car from brand new. It's always been very reliable. I've had it serviced every 6 months at a Volvo dealer. In fact, I'm quite sorry to be parting with it. It's been a joy to have.
And what's the mileage?
65,000.
And a full Volvo service history?
Yes.
While Susan's gone to get the registration document in the MOT, let me just show you what a cracking little car this is. It's all about provenance. We're talking to the person who bought it new, who has driven it for the last 9 years and serviced it religiously at a Volvo garage every time. It's got Volvo mats in it. It's got the dealer plates on the back window, the dealer sticker. It's absolutely mint. It really is. Lovely virgin engine compartment, never been stuffed. They honestly don't come much better than this. But don't just inspect cars under strip lights, because they can make them very shiny. Go outside.
Where I could see that it had never even had so much as a lick of paint. Just look at that flank, not even a parking dent, and an interior that could only be described as pristine.
With something as genuine, unmolested, and as original as this, you have to be quick. Cars this good do not hang around. But if that's too much of an antique for you, how about this? 90G, 1,400 quid.
And it's a Volkswagen, so it'll last forever. A 76,000-mile 1.3 CL Polo with a fresh interior that had worn its miles well. There were more owners than I would have liked and signs of a few paintwork repairs, but you could go a lot further and fare a lot worse. Remember the golden rule, mileage is all, because cars with service histories and genuine mileages are the bangers to buy.
So, if you're on a reduced budget, don't whinge at me, because as I hope we've ably demonstrated, there's a cornucopia of low-mileage, original, surprisingly cheap cars out there. They take some finding, but as long as you're ingenious, quick and cute, you too can join that happy band who measure out the cost of their motoring in hundreds, not thousands.
Hatchbacks come, hatchbacks go. Metros, Fiestas and a million other average hatches doing the school and supermarket run. Only one Super Mini stood out. 3 little numbers, 205. Great looks, super handling and a GTI that everyone wanted. The 205 was an 80s icon.
The 205 was a massive success, so much so that Peugeot replaced it with 2 cars. This, the 306 and the baby 106. Both sort of look similar to the 205 and both have fantastic chassis, but when you add 306 to 106, it doesn't quite add up to 205. So Peugeot has launched a direct replacement for the 80s legend, and they've called it, guess what?
One of the 205's biggest attractions was its cute-as-a-button styling. Small and perfectly formed, it was a bundle of fun on 4 wheels.
But here, the 206 has a few problems. From the side, it looks like a Rover 200, except for this pointless line from the wheel arch to the door. And around the front, the number plate just seems to be in the wrong position. Having said that, though, the nose itself looks great. The headlights are classy and sleek, and the bonnet air scoops make the car look, well, sort of saucy.
And whilst Jeremy complained about the new Clio's saggy bottom, the 206 has a rear that's as pert and as taut as an obsessive jogger's.
Though this centre fog light, which cuts through a bumper line, does have a hint of Cyclops to it.
Previous Pugs had delicate dashboards made of cheap and nasty plastics. The 206 follows its bigger brother, the 406, in offering something more substantial, which, for no apparent reason, has the texture of an elephant's skin.
In the back of the 3-door, there is just about enough room for 2 6-footers, so long as they have no knees. There are some great touches, like the optional passenger airbag that can be turned off when carrying a child seat. There's also a handy front seat storage box, and all the switches are stylish, solid, and give great clunk. This 1.4 knocks out 75 brake horsepower, but the 0 to 60 time of 13.2 seconds is hardly class leading, and to achieve anything like that time needs lots of revs, which means lots of noise too. There will also be 1.1 and 1.6 litre petrol engines and a 1.9 litre diesel, but all are derived from existing Peugeot units, which are beginning to feel their age. Fortunately, since the 205, Peugeots have been good fun to drive, no matter what's under the bonnet, and the 206 is no exception. When the road gets twisty, the family traits shine through. It's in the genes. This 1.4 LX will be the best-selling model, the bread and butter of the range. However, thanks to the fiendish French chassis engineers, they've added a dollop of jam on top. The handling is superb. Through every bend, this car's well-weighted steering always keeps you in tune with what's happening at the front end. If you like your car to feel like a flighty young thing, then the Pug will suit you, sir. However, if you prefer your set of wheels to be a bit more sure-footed, then rivals such as the Renault Clio would fit the bill perfectly. Add a fairly supple ride to the mix, and you realise the 206 has a pretty good setup. But the lively feeling you got from the 205 just isn't there. This car needs something meatier, more substantial under your foot. One reward for less than sparkling performance is decent economy, around 42 miles to the gallon. And a mid-level 206 will undercut its clunky old Corsa equivalent by over £1,000. However, a similar spec Clio's only £50 more and has anti-lock brakes as standard. The £10,245 Pug comes with electric windows, remote locking and power steering. Small cars have moved on, and Peugeot is unlikely to make anything as lively or as characterful as the 205 again. But with the 206, what they have created is one of the best small cars around. And next year there'll be a 2-litre, 138 brake horsepower version, which is likely to be called GTI. Maybe then we'll see a return of the old magic.
Not many people know this, but the existing car safety legislation dates back to 1974. And all the car manufacturers really had to worry about was that in an accident, the steering wheel didn't move back any further than 5 inches, and that was it. Which is exactly why the European Commission wants the safety rulebook rewritten.
It was necessary to bring in some sort of legislation to replicate real life in a head-on accident. And also what was needed was some sort of side impact legislation, because there were absolutely no rules at all about the resistance of a car to a side impact. And side impacts kill about 6,500 people a year in the European Union. The previous test was wholly ineffectual. And to give you a measure of that, a parliamentary reply stated that if all cars were to the new legislative standard, 90,000 deaths and serious injuries would be avoided each year in Europe.
And that's the reason we're in Holland at the Dutch safety headquarters to watch 7 luxury cars being crash tested for both frontal and side impacts. Now, there's been much debate about crash testing. At the moment, the law demands cars should be driven at 30 miles an hour into a concrete block. From October the 1st, that test will be done at 35 miles an hour into a deformable barrier. But NCAP's tests are tougher still. They crash cars at a much more realistic 40 miles an hour.
And the dummies inside the cars aren't lifted out of C&A's front window. They're plugged up like the Pentagon, cost 35 grand each, and can measure acceleration, deceleration, and internal inches. Chummy Dummy here is as near as you'll get to Mr. Average. So sit back and join us as we watch £200,000 worth of brand new cars get trashed.
And why a deformable barrier? Because it simulates collisions between cars much more accurately. The Mercedes E-Class got a surprisingly low 3 out of 4 stars because of injuries to the driver's feet.
As you can see, quite a lot of deformation, what we like. It's because it absorbs the mass, consumes energy, that's right. If you see the excursion of the left front wheel to the firewall and into the footwell area, we don't like that. The footwell area has been deformed and reduced. The brake pedal excursion rearwards was considerable, and that the risk of having injuries on foot and ankle is great.
Even though it had door-mounted airbags fitted as standard, protection against the side impact wasn't the best in the group. The Audi A6, another 3-star car. The body shell stayed stable, but it was criticised for hard areas which could cause damage to knees, legs and pelvis. The imprint of the dummy's face on the airbag shows that the bag performed well. The Volvo S40, marketed as one of the safest cars. This was another surprise. The design of its side impact protection was highly commended, but it earned only 3 stars, mainly because of low knee protection. Frank, this isn't very good. In my accident, I'm pressing hard on the brake and the clutch. My knees are up here. And also, my passenger space, my survival space is being eroded.
Well, there is some reduction of the survival space, of course, but it's still enough to survive. As you can see, the windscreen pillar has come inwards quite a distance. And as you can see, the footwell area has been reduced quite considerably.
But there were 4 stars for the Toyota Camry. Good performance in the side impact test lifted its score. But again, in the frontal test, there was a serious risk of injury to the upper legs, pelvis, knees and feet. The BMW 5 Series fared quite well despite potential thigh, knee and pelvis injuries. Here we've got the front wheel quite far back, pushing the bulkhead, the firewall up and the pedals. My knees are pinioned under the steering wheel, so I'm going to have ankle, knee and pelvis injuries, and this is one I wouldn't have walked away from. Another surprise was that the rear passenger door was flung open in the test. Not good news for anyone unbelted in the back. The Saab 9.5. This one came out as the safest of the lot, scoring well for frontal and top marks for impact from the side. More importantly, it's probably the only one of the 7 you would have walked away from unaided. But strangely enough, Saab, despite the 9.5 doing so well, reckon that even the NCAP tests don't go far enough.
This test shows that if a manufacturer really wants to achieve good passive safety for his car, he can achieve it.
You might be shocked to see these large luxury cars looking so mangled and twisted. But remember, the more a car crumples, the more impact is absorbed. And the more energy the car takes, the less is passed on to you. So big cars are safer than little ones. But if you thought all this crash testing was done by governments, think again, because it's all independent, and it works. Because without it, we would not now have side airbags as standard on the new VW Golf, and we wouldn't know that the Volvo S40 isn't as crash-resistant as a Toyota Camry. These things we need to know. But there's a dark side to all this, and that is that all these 7 luxury cars did not perform particularly well on pedestrian safety. So while you, me, and our crash test dummies are relatively safe inside our cars, it's when we step out of them that things get really dangerous.